And now, coming to you from the Pensado Media Center, powered by Westlake Pro.
His work and his credits are all very aristocratic, and he is a super cool dude. You're going to enjoy this one. Pro Tools 12 contest rolling strong. Berklee Online also has some goodies for you. Something around here is a little different. We'll explain that. And we tell you this time you're at the place, you are truly at the place. The new place is Pensado's place.
Yay! Man, we've been talking about this for like since the 1930s, and we're now here.
Well, no, actually, you would not let me talk about it. It's really what I kept saying. We talk about it, you go no. We talk about it, you go no.
Man, I say this a lot, but you picked a great day to stop by and hang out with Herb and I.
Yeah.
Buddy, I don't know what else to do. I could kiss you, man. This is like, guys, you have no idea how hard Herb and our team have been working on this. Yeah. And when appropriate, we'll tell you about the different people that have made this come to fruition.
Absolutely.
But my friend, I'm telling you,
here we are.
The audio community owes you a big thank you.
We owe the audio community.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
For sure.
It's pretty amazing. All right, so before we get all modeling, Cindy's got to come up with tissues and stuff. Why don't we get on with the show?
Did you get that Kleenex endorsement?
No.
Because you let me down on the Depends.
They passed. Well, I gave that to you. Anyway, how about we move forward?
Okay.
All right. Hi, everybody. Phenomenal to be with you. Before we get started, shout out and a big Pensado hug to all of our brothers and sisters in Paris. We stand united with you. We support you. We and Team Pensado send our love. Okay. You know our partners, Vintage King, the Blackbird Academy, Audio Technica, Aftermaster, Isotope, Recording Connection, Avid, and Studio 202 DC. We also want to welcome two of our new facility partners. First up is Fab Factory, a new sponsor tied directly to Dave and his room. Fabulous company, absolutely fabulous people.
A lot of cool things coming up.
And more on that in 2016. Yeah. Excited about them. We'll share that. Hold on. And all this stuff is because of our new friends at Westlake Pro. As you can tell, we are different and refreshed, and we are excited about it. Let us start by welcoming you to the all-new Pensado Media Center, designed with and powered by Westlake Pro. Our show will be housed here for a long time, unless they kick us out or we don't pay rent. We have an internet radio station. It's going to be called The Vocal Booth. We're going to bring you new programming from all your favorites. We have the first ever audio art gallery and media library with the best photographers in audio with their art housed here, and also the best authors and information in audio anywhere. We'll have live streaming, green screen, additional sets, our offices, and a whole lot more. Here's the quick story. As you know, at the top of the year, we moved into a theater. We spent a fortune and quickly determined that that place and the politics environment were kind of the wrong fit and not good for our show. We have a very professional production. Our team is incredible, and a production of our size has to be an environment that can handle that size. It's sort of a professional environment has to sort of meet a professional production. Mm-hmm. Our director called it untenable, actually. And so I thought about it. I called Dave one day and said, you know what, we're out, but let's do it with class and dignity and figure out what it is. And also let's do it sort of secretly. Enter George Agieff and Joe Tapierre, the CEO and president of Westlake Pro. Our own brilliant Jonathan Dean was hired as Chief Technology Officer of Westlake Pro. Said the owners would like to be in business with you. Can I set up a meeting? We met several times. They asked us our dream. We told them it fit with their dream. They said, let's do it. We said, how much? We worked it out, and voila, we're here. Took about 4 months. We all worked very quietly during the Pensado Awards and Gear Expo Nashville and got it done. We are in and over the moon about it. We'll get you a little virtual tour done in the next week. We still got some tweaks and stuff to do, But Dave and I couldn't wait. We were like, man, let's go get to our
Feels like
best.
we've been here for years already.
It is a phenomenal feeling
Yeah.
place. And by the way, if you're ever in LA, you got to come by and see it. Give me your perspective on George and Joe and Jonathan and Westlake Pro today.
Well, one of the things I've noticed about the show is the more people that have a long experience and history with music and audio tend to be good partners. And from the staff, you know, JD, he's a musician, Chongo a musician, George and Joe are musicians,
No question.
and quite good ones, I've been told. I don't know.
We'll test them.
We'll test them.
We'll put 'em on the air
But
later.
I think that counts for a lot because they understand passion, they understand the music space, and they understand our audience. And you know, you and I are the audience, and they get that. And I think it's going to be a great, long, and fruitful relationship
And how
with
about
them.
the way they've treated us?
Man, I couldn't ask for anything more. I mean, every time we go to dinner, George pays. What else do you want?
We've learned so much about wine.
Well, I know the entire menu at Ca del Sol,
Yeah,
so
no
that's
question,
a good
no
thing.
question about it. I'm thinking about
But
some
they're
brick
great
top
people.
chicken. Yeah.
They're great people.
Well, they care. It's been first class. It's emblematic of the way the company runs, in my opinion. High-end customer service, high-end brands. They take it very seriously. They're sort of mighty about it, and they set their own standard, and it's reflective of ours.
Yeah, and not just the big things, the little things. George came in and saw a particular item and thought it could be better, and he's like, "Oh, that's got to be better. We got to change it." It was a small
changed it
thing.
like in
yeah,
11 minutes.
yeah, it was a small thing,
Absolutely.
but it, you know, it's a spiritual thing. If you show yourself good at small things, then you're going to probably be good at big things, and I think that's a great sign from them.
So, while technically we are renters, we see this as a strategic relationship where we can do great things for all of us, for all of you, for our partners, and it's going to be a net win for everybody. Amazing people, amazing time. Thanks to all those who made it happen. Stay tuned for good stuff. And again, thanks to George, Joe, Jonathan, Steve, Sean, all of our new family. It's going to be a ball.
Brett Leandro.
What's that?
Hidalgo.
Hidalgo. We're silly today. Let's introduce Chongor. So
Okay.
he's in a new place.
Chong.
You know him, you love him. He's the hairy Hungarian. He's the guy who heads up corner
What are
office.
you eating?
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chongor. So how you doing, man?
Man, I'm so excited to be here. It's all the work that we're doing behind the scenes finally comes to fruition, and I cannot wait just to let everyone enjoy it with us.
Yeah. Well,
Huge.
kudos to you, my bud. That's everybody on this team worked like
Yeah.
crazy to get this happen. So,
Yeah, beyond that.
yeah, so we're gonna have a lot of fun. How about let's get the audience something? What do you think?
I'm ready.
Okay, cool. How about the Pro Tools 12 sweepstakes? It's still churning. You guys are entering. Lots of people there. Good on you for that. Remember, go to the URL you see on the screen below me and maybe even behind me. It's Pensado's Place TV, pensadosplace.tv/PT12. That's pensadosplace.tv/PT12. Enter your info and become eligible to win your own copy of Pro Tools 12 and also potentially be the grand prize winner of the Apogee Quartet. We're going to give 2 away a week, or Avid is, I should say, all the way through December. And we got some winners this week. DP, who are the winners?
Andre Rasulshi and Alex Martin Blanken.
Very good, very good. So we will get those Pro Tools out to you. Mr. Everything, Chongor, will send those things out very shortly. Here's another thing. Because we're in our new place, so we're going to start having ITLs in the next week or so. And by the way, just a quick program note, we will get back to our Wednesday schedule after Thanksgiving, which means we'll post on Thursday. You'll be able to see the show on Thursday now that we're getting settled. So since we do have an ITL, but we're going to hold it till next week. Talk to me about Ozone 7. You recently had a session with one of their trainers.
Oh yeah, Izzy and the guys came by.
From Isotope.
First of all, let me say, I got on board with Isotope Ozone on 3, so I've been to 3, 4, 5, 6, and now 7. And I recommend you getting the advanced version because you can use it as a standalone, and then you can also use individual elements. The new stuff that I really like is IRC4. IRC4 is a little bit more of an intelligent detection system for the maximizer, for essentially the limiter. It's very musical, got some really cool stuff. there's another big kind of new chunk of features, and they've got a tape machine, they've got a compressor, and these are like within the plug-in. The tape machine's amazing, the limiter's amazing, compressor's amazing. All good stuff.
The quality of Isotope's product is all. I mean, as long as we've done this show, as many people talk about it, the quality level.
Yeah, the quality is beyond impressive. But sometimes smart people aren't musical, but they're both. It works. I mean, if a great plug-in that doesn't enhance the music, and like our guest is going to explain to us about the importance of song, this does that for me.
Oh, cool.
That's a great tool. I love it.
So we'll do an ITL on that as well soon. So we'll show you that kind of stuff, and I think Isotope might make a few of those available to us. Stay tuned. We'll figure all that out.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Talk about high-end work, high-end results, high-end everything. How about this? Grammys for Adele, smashes on Sam Smith. Oh yeah, did I forget Taio Cruz, Ellie Goulding, CeeLo Green, Kaiser Chiefs.
Yay.
And then on top of all the official credits and success, you know, Pensado and Charlock are cool names. His name, official name, is Fraser Lance Thornycroft Smith, which shames us, and I think we should just go home at this stage of the game.
How do you spell Smith? Does he have some kind of
it's
Y-T-H-E
not.
thing in
It
there?
could be Smith, could be Smythe, but it's straight ahead. Because
Okay.
if you're Thornycroft, you can't have Smythe as well. So,
Okay.
However, you know him as Fraser T. Smith. He is a great dude, and we are happy to welcome him to our new home.
Absolutely.
The amazing Fraser T. Smith.
Thanks for having me on.
Hey, man, thank you, bro. Thank you.
Frage, what's up, buddy?
Great
Call
to
him
see you.
Frage because we roll like that.
Yeah, I
man.
got
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, we roll like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Straight out of London.
I moved up from a pellet pistol. That's my 9/11,
Got you.
1911. Excuse me. That was weird.
Yeah, we'll edit
Freudian.
that.
So, you said a while back. I can't remember. It might have been SOS, but that minimalism is something that you try to incorporate in all your creative endeavors. That people like minimal. Expand on that.
I try. Well, I think if you get the right parts, then I think you don't need to put so many tracks in. Some of the best tracks I've looked back on that I've been involved in, actually there's not that much going on. It's hard now because it's so easy to create more and more tracks.
Because
and-
technology sometimes gets
yeah,
in
you
the
can
way.
it
right?
does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
But I think if you use the right parts, you can definitely stay minimalist. And I think that focuses in the production and the sound.
Do you think this is true, to build on Dave's point? I've always felt that the true geniuses figure out simplicity, not complexity. Like, it's how do you take all those elements and get it down
That's
to
a
the
great
things
point.
that really touch people?
True.
Isn't that kind of theoretically in the same?
Yeah,
same-
completely. If you listen to all the great records out there, they're all pretty minimalist. You
Yeah.
know, from stuff that's topping the Billboard charts today back to
Absolutely.
the Rolling Stones.
Absolutely.
There's something that I read once. That I think the human brain can only process 3 simultaneous things at
Oh,
a time.
really? That's amazing.
You
That
know,
many?
well,
Well, we're
yeah.
we're a bad example of it. Most
my
normal
God.
people.
That's when I thought I was getting good.
Well, now I'm thinking about Start Me Up, and I'm thinking about just how straight ahead
Yeah.
that is, and
Isn't it?
and how good that is.
Yeah, there's not that much going on
Wow.
in any of the Rolling Stones.
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. Exactly.
That threw me off. 3 things. Wow.
And clearly, in your case, might just be 2, but that's okay.
Another thing that really moved me and touched me was you hit a crossroads because you were a live musician, touring musician, played on some great stuff and tours, but you had to make a decision at that crossroads to go Mr. Everything or just focus on writing and producing, and a lot of us are at that creative crossroads. Not just once in life, but 2 or 3 times in life. How did you handle it? What was their thought process, and why did you choose songwriting and producing, sprinkled in with some rather good engineering, my friend?
Oh, thank you. It means a lot coming from you, buddy. Well, I reached the point where I was producing quite a lot. I was playing,
Yeah.
going on tour, and doing stuff in the studio, playing guitar with people in sessions, and I felt like I really needed to focus in on the production and the songwriting. I'd always written songs and produced for for years since I've been in bands as a kid.
Right.
But I realised that career-wise, I needed to make the jump, and I was touring and recording and remixing with Craig David, which I did for 2 or 3 years.
I love reading that in your bio, because that moment in your career, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that moment in your career that you were doing that with Craig, there was a moment Craig had where he just sort of stood out like a nebula, just boom. So part of that must have been amazing too.
Well, it was incredible because I made the decision not to tour really before I met Craig. But then I met Craig and had the opportunity of working with him in the studio, but also being his right-hand man musically, because we did things like played at Madison Square Garden, we played at Live 8, we played all over the States and all over the world together, just as two guys playing. So that ticked off a lot of the boxes of stuff that I always wanted to do, all the major TV shows in the UK. So my parents were suddenly convinced that I was actually making a living. And at this point I was like 32.
Right.
But it got to the point it was always a very hard decision to make, because I was earning quite good money with Craig and obviously very close to him on a musical level and as a friend, to actually put that line in the sand. But I decided to make the most of it after the end of a world tour. But I thought it would be quite funny and ironic by, at the end of the show, getting a cheap guitar, plugging it in, at the end of the show, taking the jack plug out and smashing this acoustic guitar. Because it was ironic, because it's an acoustic, it's not Kurt Cobain, we're playing R&B, we're not playing.
It's all contrary.
And I thought that Craig, having a great sense of humour, would understand this. You know, so it got to the end of this show and thrown to 5,000 people in Denmark, and I finished the last chord, took out the jack plug, smashed the guitar. I hope it was going to smash. I never smashed a guitar on stage before. Luckily it did.
Did you take the plug out? What difference does it make?
Well, I just thought I thought it was
prudent.
That's British.
I thought it might just get tangled up and, you know, they would just end up really badly. And, yeah, it's one of those sort of things.
Exactly.
And so I smashed it, and the neck was there, and the band were running on stage, and Craig just didn't know what to make of it. I think because of his reference points probably went as far back as probably Boys to Men. You know, it wasn't really going much past that in terms of time. So he wasn't going, hey, you know, you did the Hendrix thing, you did the Kurt Cobain thing. He was just like, this guy's literally just gone mad.
Yeah.
But he just looked at me, and we've never talked about it since.
But that's kind of neat to mark that big a decision with a moment.
It didn't end up friendship, no. He was the best man at my wedding.
Oh, but it just hasn't been addressed.
But it never really talked about it. Yeah, it's a kind of the elephant in the room.
Well, I guess moving on from that, that Pete Townsend moment, one of the creative elements that caught my attention about you when I've read about you in the past is your dedication to the MPC.
Yeah, I love it.
There's something about pads that translate groove a little better than doing it on a keyboard or typing it in, and
just the sound, I think, and the fact that you track it in, and the fact that I think going back to the minimalist thing, I'm not making out I'm some kind of I mean, I've put strings on loads of tracks. I'm not coming from that minimalist place, but I do think that we were saying earlier about limitations, and actually the sound palette in most DAWs now is so vast that actually I really like starting a song from the point of view of an MPC, Moog, Minotaur for bass, and a synth. But the fact that you can only really do a synth pad, because you can't, it's not multi-timbral, the situation, so you can only do one synth, one bass, and some drums, I think really
forces you to be
to get the right parts.
You know, it's interesting. You remind me of, remember we had DJ Mustard on?
Oh yeah, of course.
I worked with him recently.
Oh, is that right?
Amazing guy. And he actually is on the MPC as well, yeah.
Same thing. That's what it was reminding me of, and just how he approaches things in such a minimal way. Turns out a lot of stuff, doesn't have to go real deep and make it, and then the one that strikes is the one that you sort of feel. If it's there in a minimal way, then the roots are there.
Yeah.
And then you actually don't have to do a whole lot to it afterwards.
Yeah.
You have the,
Did you do that on Rain? Set the Rain on Fire, Adele? Did you use your drum machine on that?
I did at the beginning. Yeah. I that was interesting.
I love that song, by the way.
Thank you.
a lot of people did.
I started that. I had a vision that that we could do something that was like early U2, which I know is the furthest thing. The
Love
final
that.
thing is far from that, but I just had these rolling toms that were on the MPC, and then I came up with a piano riff, and that became the essence really of the song. And then I got my friend Ash Sohn to play live drums on top, and we got some live strings, but really the vocal from the writing session was pretty much the vocal that we used, and it was an incredible time.
And then, boom.
Yeah, yeah.
Man.
When you mix an Adele, and she benefits so much from a 70s kind of sound, what is it that you're trying to incorporate by going back that many decades in order to enhance her for a modern audience? I don't know if I articulated that.
You did.
You did. I honestly didn't think about trying to articulate it for a modern audience. I mean, I made sure the drums felt big. It was really interesting when I listened back. Well, I listened back a while ago to the session, and how much reverb was on her vocal.
Really?
It was actually analog reverb, which was really interesting because
Was it a spring?
it was no, it was a Lexicon 224. Sorry, not analog, but analog by our
Okay.
standards, I guess, by today. So
Outboard.
Lexicon 224 Outboard, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was amazing that how much reverb was there, that yet when you listen to the record, it doesn't sound drenched.
Oh. Was she flexible in allowing you to do what you needed to do from your perspective with?
Completely, yeah. She was very hands-on, but she, especially on the mix front as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that was interesting because I mean, I never really, not in any way a mix engineer. You know, like you guys that you've specifically mixed records. I've always mixed.
I think your mixes are perfect because they finish your vision from the production side. You don't separate production and mixing. You incorporate them as one skill. And I think a lot of times that translates the performance a little better than handing it off to a stranger to be guarding that vision.
Well, I think also
Except for me, of course.
Of course, you'd get it
Present
immediately.
company excluded.
But I'd spent. You spend so long, don't you, on each stage, and then Tom Elmhurst, who's obviously incredible, was mixing the whole record. So I sent him the parts, but I did say, look, let's just. I'll keep going on this mix, and Tom's obviously going to do what he's doing. I mean, because we wrote the song together and I'd produced it, it was win-win. I mean, if Tom had bettered the mix, and it wasn't that it was better or worse, it was just the fact that I think he did what he did, and it was just a different approach.
He seems to have a clear vision for her.
Yeah.
Who she is, and her performance always gets enhanced when his hands
Yeah,
get on.
the vocal was.
But there's a little bit of a hypocritical note in what you're saying, you know, about you mixing your own stuff, because
yeah?
I think
What's
you were quoted as saying people should spend less time looking for the perfect hi-hat and more time choosing a better chorus. So maybe they should spend a little time, less time mixing.
You're right.
Trust
You're
it
right.
to the pros.
You're right.
And make a better chorus. I mean,
You're right.
just saying, her. You be the judge, you know. I'll take your opinion on that.
I'm
Herb.
neutral. I'm in the middle. I'm neutral.
When you're working with an artist like Adele, who's got such a powerful performance as an element of why we love her, because we love that performance aspect as much as anything else about her melodies too. But how did playing out in clubs and pubs for your entire life help you understand the importance and power of that performance to bring it out in your work?
Did it help you?
Yeah, massively. Massively. Because
Yeah.
I think we had a similar musical upbringing, haven't we, Dave, in terms of playing the bars and clubs, and I think when you're in a pub in England at 10:30 and people just want to get really drunk, and you're probably one of them as well, but
absolutely.
you can't because you've got to play. When you're doing that, you realise that really it comes down to the simplicity of a lyric and the simplicity of a melody, and the power behind that, the emotional power, because people aren't 10:30 in a normal pub or bar in the US. You know, they're not looking for anything but someone that's going for the jugular. And I think that where Adele always scores, and Sam Smith and all the great artists, are that they really know how to keep the artistic integrity, but to go for the jugular every time.
Right away, right to it.
Really to hit those choruses, and I think that's what translates.
I was reading
across country as well.
I was reading or watching something, but it was a history of the Beatles, And in the early years, they just did so many of those kinds of pubs and things. So those simplistic, classic melodies and that ability to get right to that chorus and so on was forged in front of that audience, because that audience is demanding. And if you don't get them, they're talking, they're not paying attention, they've moved on, right?
Yeah, completely.
Like they vote. It's quicker than the internet.
Yeah.
They let you know right away, and then, but when it's compelling, you got them.
Yeah. Cool.
Does Sam share that same kind of special vocal clarity, and not only understanding his voice, but understanding what to do with it and when to do with it?
Yeah.
It seems like it's similar.
Completely. I mean, I'd heard Sam really only on Latch, that song where he's singing in his full setup.
That was one of the first things I heard too.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Amazing.
So I expected to hear that style of vocal, which I loved. But when he got in the booth and we did a song and he started pushing it up into his chest, and
Wow.
the range in his chest.
Amazing.
I mean, I never really do this because it's always a bit cheesy, but I texted Nick Raphael, his A&R guy, and I just said, honestly, I've been privileged to work with Adele and CeeLo and Celine Dion. I mean, but this guy is like up there.
Wow.
You know?
That's a big compliment.
Yeah. So.
What techniques do you use? Well, maybe I shouldn't ask that because you don't want your potential artists to know that you have techniques. But is there a method that you use to kind of make sure that performance can come through the microscope of a studio? Because a lot of artists get a little nervous knowing that this is going to be around forever. So it's got to be perfect. It's got to be great and all this. And our job, from an engineering and a production standpoint, is to make them feel like they're invincible, and don't worry about that. We got your back. We got the safety net. How do you orchestrate the atmosphere in the studio to get those performances quickly?
I think I make sure that the studio's always got a nice vibe, and that obviously the people around, the people that work with me, my team, are on the same kind of vibe. I don't have loads of people in the studio, to be honest. You know, I work with my engineer Manon, and I have a assistant called Benj, but they're kind of in the background. You know, they're not in artists' faces, and so really it's just me and the artist. But I think honestly, in honest answer to that question is that most of the vocals that I use that I have are from the songwriting session. So
Is that right? Yeah.
most of the hits that I've had have come from the end of a day's writing. So no one's on that feeling of
cool.
literally there's rustling of paper in the background, and it's just. But I've thought about this a lot because I've always tried to better those vocals, because you think, oh, you know, maybe we need to re-record it just because, you know, I hadn't lit the candles and we hadn't got the vintage mic out. We just did it in the room. But every time that I've tried to redo that, I'd say 99% of the time it hasn't worked. And the reason for that, I think, is that when someone's been writing a song, and when you've both been writing a song, you're so in that moment that actually that's the best place to be, because when you then remove yourself and then you come back on a fresh day and you're thinking, right, I'm going to smash this vocal, you're not really thinking about the lyric, you're thinking about your vocal performance, how your vocal cords are sounding. So I think that's the answer, really.
Yeah, I think so. It's when amazing. They're the most honest. You know,
and you've been immersed in a song for 5 or 6 hours. You've just been thinking about that moment.
That emotional trigger is front and center here, and it's reflected in the vocal.
Completely.
Yeah, I agree.
Can you share a vocal chain for those moments where it's good enough to capture and use for the record? Do you remember your mics and your mic preamps and stuff that you would use normally?
For Adele?
For a vocal
Sam
session,
Smith? Or,
for Adele.
There was never any one set thing for artists, but for Adele it was a Browner VM1 mic and a Neve preamp and a Retro 176. So that, I mean, it was a good vocal chain. But I've done records with Craig David where he was in the room and he was on less than 58. I mean, we've got the performance, but I mean, they're great mics, but there was a lot of EQ after, because he wanted his vocals so bright.
Wow.
So that was tough. But I worked with the Kooks recently, and I used an SE mic, like a 120-pound mic that was all in the room.
Wow.
So I think it's whatever
it's conditional.
Whatever takes.
Yeah.
That kind of, in a weird way, Herb, proves that the performance is more important than the equipment.
I think so.
You know?
I think above a certain level, I think that really, I mean, I would always prefer to use the best mic I've got in the cupboard at all times, but I'd take the performance over sonics, definitely.
I also think we're in, don't you guys think we're in sort of this cyclical period where technology, oh wait, the artist counts. Let's go back
Feels
to,
like it.
and and the artist happens to be fantastic, and what they do is almost like good enough. Let's go there, and back to the equation. I think is more balanced. The technology should enhance some things, but not dominate it. You know, when we talk to our audience a lot, we talk about the fact that technology can be your problem too. You can get trapped in the prison of technology, and you're getting sounds and you're getting stuff, but you're not getting feel. You're not getting character. You're not getting the simplicity, and you're forgetting that the hook counts and all the other kinds of. What I notice is that, I'm sure you guys do too, is, and when we were young, music was tribal. You identified your tribe with this, and sometimes you didn't like that tribe because they but at the end of the day, if you really love music, you got to kind of understand what works in all of it, if you really love it. And it still comes back down to that in the big pop business, it's about that hook and that lyric and that chorus setting in and taking it with you, and it just lives with you and it infuses you, right?
Completely.
And I think that's still a science. I think a lot of sort of millennial generation miss why that's important for their craftsmanship. You can't replace that with a plug-in or technique or something like that.
I can.
Well, no, you can't, but you can do anything. I just think you're not a millennial. I'll check your.
You know what? I
I'll
love
check your driver's license.
Herb, I'm being serious.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
But I think you hit on something, because I agree 100% about your feeling where music is going vis-a-vis the technology, and it feels to me, and this is going to morph into a question for you, that we're over the tools and whether the saw is an electric saw or a hand saw or the screwdriver is motorized. We're focusing on the house we build with these tools more now than ever.
Right, great analogy.
And just to name and give Avid a shout out, Pro Tools 11 was a game changer. It made a lot of these arguments a bit, how do you say it, moot. And one of the things about Fraser that I like is he's at the forefront of putting the music first and the song first. So yeah, he likes analog, he likes digital, he likes everything, he likes all the tools, but it's all about the song you construct with those tools.
And hopefully.
That was a question, by the way.
Well, and let
me
me add to your question, because as somebody, and particularly working in England, because I think there's just a seminal music movement that regenerates itself that comes out of the UK and England and so forth. There are phenomenal artists coming out, phenomenal singers. They're not locked into a genre. I will whoop your ass over Ed Sheeran at some point in time. You know what I mean?
Well, England changes genre every week. There's we're like 20 deep on drum and bass in terms of sub now, aren't we?
But what I think the fun part is that with commercial success, it means that people start to look for artists like that, and companies start to support artists like that, and it triggers a movement back to artistry because it works.
Yeah, completely.
And I think that England is a leading sort of proponent of those kind of acts. Is that your sense?
Yeah, I'm always really
got
proud.
a question into the poor man.
Took a minute. We got there.
Just make up some answers. Go for it. 10 minutes. Yours.
What can I say? I'm always proud of the UK and being from the UK and seeing all the artists that come out, because it's a tiny island, and when you see any artist having any kind of success outside of the UK, and obviously at the moment Ed Sheeran and Adele is back, and Ellie Goulding, Calvin Harris. I mean, it's across genres, Coldplay, bands. It's except for I don't want to put them down because they're good friends of mine. But you were saying about Kaiser Chiefs.
Can you count Calvin Harris?
Sorry?
I thought he was like from Scandinavia.
He's Scottish.
He should be from Scandinavia. Anyway, go ahead.
I'll call him and we'll see if we can't work that out.
Didn't even catch you off.
But you're right. Proportionally, that's a whole bunch of seminal, game-changing acts. And
recently, yeah.
And then does that then go down and infuse producers, engineers, songwriters, and so forth?
Completely.
Challenges you to go higher, go deeper.
Yeah, completely. And I think we were really lucky to have stations, radio stations like Radio 1, that are in part owned by the state, so that that there is a certain amount of music that has to come out, which is new music, and the support from Radio 1 alone to new artists coming through, I think is really important.
Amazing.
And
Yeah.
the fact that the playlists are made up of all sorts of things, from like death metal through to new UK hip hop, and I think that gives everyone a sense of diversity musically and culturally. I think that's makes England this big melting pot of ideas. So I think coming up through the ranks, you're able to experiment with any kind of genre.
Do you find structurally that engineers, folks in our audience, producers like yourself, songwriters, are there studios for them to go to work in? Is that infrastructure still there, or is it still hard to sort of, in America it's hard to find the place where you can apprentice and learn and move up and get around? Is it easier in the UK? Are there more places to go? Or
I think it's quite a challenge actually to find that type of thing. But I think if you look at same in LA, you know, the big studios are shut. But I think the flip side is that you can make music wherever you go.
yeah.
But I think there's still places like Metropolis in Chiswick, which is just huge facilities which help kids. And I think that there's great places to learn now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and colleges there, and Berklee School of Music, which I know we're going to
We're
talk
gonna
about at some
that in a
point.
second. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
In your studio, which I've seen pictures, I've never been there, but it seems really cool. But
Gonna come sometime, man.
I'd love to. There's a couple of glaring things missing. Are you still using your Chandler 32 to some, or are you're not
I'm
using
not.
a console? What are you using?
Well, I've got a console now. I've got a Undertone Audio 32 channel console that was built for me by Eric Valentine,
Oh,
who's
yeah.
a friend of
Love
you
Eric.
guys.
we love
Absolutely,
Eric.
we love
That's
Eric.
an
Great guy.
amazing console.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Drumbrella. Shout out. So
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
I was a big fan of Eric's from when he was in the band T-Ride.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've met some amazing people in my life, but he's one of these people who, just as a drummer, he would have made a great career. Just as a producer, I mean, he produced Songs for the Deaf, which is one of my favorite
Yeah.
ever rock albums.
Yeah.
You know, just as an engineer, just as a musical equipment maker, he could have
Yeah.
made a great. He's one of these people, isn't he? As a mix engineer,
He's amazing. He's amazing.
very humbling. But
Yeah.
I met him, and we were able to design this console together.
Oh, very cool.
Well, he designed it. I just
Paid for it.
suggested suggested some things.
I'm gonna take a second because Eric's a dear buddy and friend of the show, but he noticed some metal on a microphone case that was absorbing the sound and not reflecting it. So we have a problem in the audio world where the console will reflect so much sound it distorts what you're hearing. So he made a console out of that material. So
That's Eric.
so the
That's the
the
material
face
on my
of,
console.
Is that
the
right?
face of the console absorbs the sound rather than reflects
That's
it.
amazing.
And on and on and on. The man is got many
Yeah,
gifts.
he's absolutely.
So I have a console now.
Oh, that's
That
cool.
answers your question.
That's cool. Virtual synths, outboard synths, analog synths. You use them all, right?
Yeah.
I know you're partial to the 106 Juno, but by the way, I actually have the little controller. That I don't think they made but 3 of them, but
Amazing.
it
that.
actually had analog. I mean, outboard can. Anyway, so
I borrow it.
name some of your favorite. I never can remember the name of the Moog you like for bass.
Minotaur.
Yeah,
Love that.
you use that a lot.
I use it all the time.
Is it the sound of it that you love? Or?
Yeah, I just love that Moog
Yeah. Does it have a growl to it or
sound.
something?
It does, yeah. It's just so big. Biggest bass I've ever heard.
Bigger than the Mini Moog.
Different.
I wouldn't say I'm that bright, so when I see things like mini Moogs, I leave that to the program. It's simple. There's only a few knobs to twiddle. So
Tell me if you think this is right. I was thinking about virtual synths versus outboard synths, and it feels to me like it's the oscillators. If they're analog, truly analog oscillators, which are very rare, it's the saturation that oscillator has that we like, as opposed to having to emulate that saturation in the digital domain. Is that what you're listening for when you choose a 106 over a massive or silent or something?
well, I think it's horses for courses, but I do think
Is what?
it's horses for courses. Is that not an American
Yeah, but I
expression?
love it.
Horses for courses.
Absolutely. Right.
One horse.
We understand this.
Oh, I got you. I get it.
One horse will run well at
right.
on one.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
so I love
that.
virtual synths. For me, it's a blend between the two. I mean, I had an old Juno 60 recently that I love because everyone said you got to get it. It's more analog than the 106. But I found it was so warm that I just had to get rid of it.
Warm is another word for dull, you know.
Yeah, it's true. It's too warm. I had to get rid of it.
But
Got the 106.
You strike me as somebody who likes big though. When you
Yeah.
get to it.
Yeah.
Controlled big,
Yeah.
but big.
Yes.
Yeah. I get that. And also, the other thing in that having a variety of taste in terms of the music you like, the music you've played, the music you've toured with, does that inform and sort of keep you stimulated about where you go both as a producer and engineer and even as a songwriter? Like,
No, completely, because I'm lucky enough to have worked in so many different genres, from rappers and hip hop artists to amazing singers to bands, that I think you bring a little bit of what you learn along the way to each different project.
Yeah. Yes.
And I'm lucky enough not to have ever got into a rut where I'm like the guy that people would ever call for just doing a band. But I've worked with 5 or 6 bands and projects I'm really proud of that means that I can do that.
Yeah.
But I won't be just the go-to guy that has his compressor set in one
Exactly.
way and
And that's
always
what's
writes
gonna
the
be.
chorus like this.
Yeah,
So I think
exactly.
that just keeps me stimulated moving forwards.
Would you agree that we tell our audience all the time, amongst a number of things, stay curious, stay hungry. Like you'll never get there.
Yeah.
But the search is what makes you great.
Completely.
Yeah, you
completely,
agree?
Completely.
Yeah. 'Cause
Yeah.
I watched this guy, and because of the show, I think his mixes are probably better than as long as I've known you for 25 years.
I think it
Because
feels like it.
you get so much information that you just, every time, every week, there's some incredible badass to my left doing this. And then I think that, when I hear from them,
Let's
they're
make
saying
sure
something left, right.
Okay, just checking.
Cameras reversed.
I can dream, Cam.
Gotcha, of course, absolutely.
Crush my little heart.
Well, Chongor, let's go to Chongor and see if we have a question from the audience. Chongor, what you got over there, man?
We got some great questions today.
Okay.
This first one's from Craig.
Did you say that really fast?
I think I might have said it a little fast.
So let's start over. Chongor, we got some questions from the audience today?
We got some great questions today.
Oh, good.
Good.
Present one, please.
It's been practicing in front of a mirror.
This first one's from Craig McCollum. For those who want to pursue a career behind the scenes as well as a career on stage, what's the best way to do both? Is it possible to do both?
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to reach the point where you should probably focus in on one of the two. But I think that, like we were saying before, I think that a career, if you want to be behind the scenes, to have had that experience about being on stage and hanging out with artists. If you're a producer and we're both guitar players, weren't we? So you get that. You have that ability to know how to back someone rather than take the limelight.
Yeah.
Good point. Great
Justin Meldale Johnson, who is Beck's musical director, but also reminds me of you. Just self-contained musical machine, lots of different tastes.
I want to break his legs too.
Really, just an artiste. But he has said that when he can unleash the stage guy, even in support of Beck, that it informs the guy in the studio. And that he needs both, actually.
Yeah.
To because it just gives you something else that you can't get someplace else. Yeah, that's really.
You know what? I don't mean to cut Chunga off. I'll say
That's
that.
right. Go ahead, and then we'll do another.
Our dear friend Bruce Woodine said that you should always go listen to some live music.
Yeah.
Preferably something a little bit outside of your taste range, maybe classical, and that will. You don't need to know what it sounds like, but it'll inform you about the experience. And I might add something to that, and this is a question. Not only go listen to live music, but participate in creating live music can really help you as an engineer and a producer. Like you said a minute ago, knowing how to play well with people, in the sandbox. It's just, being on the road with people is a great teaching tool for that.
It really is, yeah. I've done a lot of that and feel really lucky to have had that experience of actually working with musicians. And I feel like if I get in and I'm working with a band, then I feel like the extra member, of the band and the guy that's jamming in with the band. Or if I'm working with session musicians, being able to to again just be one of the band.
Plus, there's no substitute for that.
No.
Like you can't go get that from a tutorial, and you can't get that from a plug-in. You can't. You got to be up there and earn it and do it and suffer through it, and the camaraderie and the late nights and the travel, all that informs you as an artist.
Yeah.
There's no
And I think as
question.
a producer as well, having worked with Craig David for so long and seeing what his schedule was like, you learn that when artists now more and more come into the studio, you know, the time is really precious. So I think that it's easy to sit there and be the producer that's gonna, you know, call the shots. But what you have to realize is that, you know, the artist may have been up at 6 o'clock that morning doing a TV show, signing all these things. You know, you have to make sure that you've got loads of water and you know, you're being hospitable and that you're actually able to.
People have no idea
show a bit of empathy to
of the touring grind.
No.
They just don't know. It's a 16-hour day, 18-hour day, almost every day.
Yeah.
You work on the weekends. You may get the top of the week off, and then you're right back to it.
Completely.
I mean, and when you're hot, it's insane.
It's insane.
They'll give you as much as you can take. And it's hard for you to say no because you don't know when your moment comes around. So it's a little dangerous. Chongler, give us one more.
This one's from Dave Rutchett. What does the term analog mean to you?
Ooh, great question.
Not digital? No. So,
Saturation.
Ooh, great answer.
batter's box is done. Shoot,
Yeah.
that's it.
Man,
Good night.
tip your waitress, drive safe. We'll see you tomorrow.
That's pretty good, right?
I said that picking my nose. I thought that was pretty good.
You're rubbing your nose. So we'll do it that way. Segue really quickly. One of the things that brought us together is education. And I'm curious to see what you think about education and how to utilize it. And then we'll talk a little bit about Berklee and how fine of an institution Berklee Online is. Is education important?
Massively
Yeah.
important to me. I mean, I don't think I will ever stop learning.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I broke it down once myself because I came into production pretty late, sort of 32, 33, after I smashed my guitar. I needed to
Craig went,
earn some
"What's
money
that?"
pretty quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God, I got to pay for this.
That's commitment. I like that.
Yeah, it was a definite line in the sand.
Absolutely.
So I looked at all the points of a record and those thousands of things that you needed.
Yeah.
It was a pretty humbling moment. You know, I put it all on this big A3 pad that I always have when I'm in a songwriting session. I've got all these ideas and so I started to do like a spider diagram of all these bits, and I was sort of depressed for about 3 weeks.
He's
I
like,
thought,
"Oh
well,
my God."
how am I going to get through all of this?
Yeah.
I think when you break it down, and as a songwriter and a producer, and an aspiring mix engineer, and there's so many parts that I thought, you know what, I need to really learn all of these different points. I don't really want to be writing lyrics and not have any knowledge of lyrics and melodies. I mean, I've got gut instinct.
Sure.
I don't think that will ever leave you. But in terms of sharpening the sword, you know, I think that really from that moment, I started learning, and again, I've got so many more courses and things that I want to do over the next 3-5 years.
Yeah, because you never stop.
Yeah,
really.
and I keep going back to that list and seeing all of the point, and just when you think that you know how to mix a record, you think, yeah, but my melodies could do with him being improved, or my drum programming, or any one of the 1,000 bits that make up a great record, I think.
So specifically,
it's exciting.
So specifically to online courses, and in particular Berklee Online, you know, we're in that business as well too. And what we find is that the notion, which I think all of education is dealing with, about going to a place and uprooting yourself and going through that financial sort of duress of what you have to do. The fact that you now can learn at home, have something sent to you, downloaded, and now it's gotten, with the technology, even better. You can actually talk to people for real and have real things. Do you think that's an advantage? It certainly is the wave.
Massively. I mean, I first heard about Berklee College of Music when I was 17. I didn't do very well in my exams because I just wanted to play guitar. So, you know, English, French, and history, A levels, D and 2Es. So I came out literally with no qualifications, school and college. So I was looking around at the Guitar Center, and I was looking in LA, Guitar Institute in LA, sorry, and I was looking at Berklee School of Music, and I thought, Berklee looked amazing. You can learn how to play guitar with these great people.
Yeah.
I showed my parents, and they took one look at the overseas students thing, and they just went, you know what, there's thousands of pounds, you're not going there.
No, that's right. There's a chef's job down the street.
Yeah, exactly, which
exactly.
it was. Yeah, so there's a lot of pizzas that I ended up serving, a lot of dishes that I had to end up washing just to, get by, which is the way it is when you're a musician coming through. So Berklee was never an option for me when I was a kid. So when I got into producing, I found out about the online course and the online courses that they were offering, and I looked down at the syllabus, and there was everything from piano playing through to mixing and mastering, through to Pro Tools 101, 201, 301, and it was so exciting. So I took the plunge into paying the money, and the first course I did was mixing and mastering with Jeff Faust over at Berklee.
Yeah, amazing.
And it was so interactive, and it meant that I could still earn money by doing remixes and doing the things that I was doing whilst learning at the same time. I used to get into the studio really early, about 6 in the morning, and do my study for a couple of hours every morning. Because it's what is great about it is that you, as much as being interactive, you're an active participant in the class.
Absolutely.
And you can't really wait till Sunday to do the whole week's work, because you're just going to be behind and you're going to not get a great grade. You want to get the most out of it. So really it's, hour and a half a day. And just everything that I learned, and then every one of the I've done about 10 courses now. From piano playing through to the mixing and mastering, through to ear training, and everything in between, drum programming, electronic music. It's just been an incredible journey with those guys, because I think that you could look at it and you could say, well, you could go onto YouTube and see some guy telling you how to
not the same
to sidechain a compressor or make EDM music. But I think what's great about those courses
well,
is
there's some people on YouTube that do that pretty well.
They do.
Gotcha.
When it's you.
Of course.
When it's you. And not to say that there's anything wrong with YouTube. I'm on it all the time, learning new techniques and learning from you, as I have for many years. But I think what's great about it is that you get a bit of history thrown in. So say on a drum programming course, you'll learn the history of drum machines and how Prince used those early
amazing stuff.
drum
Can I toss
machines.
something in real quick? Sure. Like Fraser, I'm self-taught, and self-taught has a lot of great advantages, a lot. But it has one big glaring disadvantage for me, and that's when you teach yourself the things you like.
Right.
And some of the things you don't like creep up later on in your career. And so I used to make a big deal about having my assistants align and set up tape machines. Could I have done it? Maybe. Did I want to or care about it? Nah.
Right.
That's just not, I'm not paid to do that.
Right.
And there's a million things that I have gaps in my knowledge that I wish I'd had a formal course, like an online course where I could go at my own pace and be forced to learn these things that I might not know enough to know that I'm going to need them later on.
Absolutely.
And the guys at Berklee in particular, and all the schools we deal with, the teachers really care, and they've got experience, and they know what you're going to face down the line. And I think that's a big plus that you don't think about when you're teaching yourself, because you just got to teach and learn and go make a living,
Yeah.
Well, and to your point, you now can go back and get that stuff.
I know.
Even now, because
I could probably get a
online does
discount
that.
too.
Well, you could. I can get it for free. But here's the beauty
I did
of
take
it,
an online
and actually
course.
we're going to talk
I won't
about
mention
that.
which one, but I did take one.
Well, one of the things that is sort of important to our audience for the value exchange side of it is whatever these courses cost, it's a whole lot less than having to move to Boston or move to some other place where there's the school and pay for your apartment and then enroll in class and go through that and get a loan and so on and so forth. With the interactivity, the history and stuff, you literally can take these courses and augment your education and become super successful. It's not like a super successful person uses this tool. So it's the same as that software piece you want or that plug-in thing you want or the DAW you want. Like, it's a critical piece of you moving forward. Do you
I
agree
think
with
more critical than the gear.
Yeah.
Because, honestly, every point, you know, when I look back at that spider diagram of everything that was there,
Yeah.
you know, I couldn't play piano before I started learning about it.
Exactly.
You know, I could just about
Noodle,
make
but it's
my way around. I couldn't mix a record, but on a track like Set Fire to the Rain, I was playing piano on it. I didn't need to get a session player in. I mixed it, and that's just testament to the
There
learning,
it is.
the experience. You know, about taking that time and investing that time in yourself.
Amazing.
You know.
Amazing. Good news.
It's the future.
Good news for our audience. I spoke to our friend Mike King.
Great guy.
And he is a great guy, and he runs the Berklee online program.
Mike.
And I got on bended knee with my hat in my hand, and I said, look, Dave and I love our audience. We need to get them a couple of courses. And so we're going to work out a situation where we will talk to Mike, and we'll find some inventory, and we'll set up something through the month of December, and a bunch of you can win some online courses and try it for yourself.
I'm going to enter myself.
Yeah, please enter.
I'm doing my next one next year is Vocal 101. It's like singing is my nemesis for some reason. And I was, I've worked with these amazing singers, not by design. I mean, I grew up listening to the Clash and you know, great singers, but in a different way. So I suddenly found myself in this amazing position of working with great singers. I was working with Celine Dion once. It was quite a big moment, you know, of how amazing a singer she is. And she was singing this song I produced, and she sang it brilliantly every single time. She just sang from start to finish. But I wanted her to do something different going up to the last chorus. I was desperately trying to do it without singing my idea. So she was on the other side of the booth, and I said, Celine, you know, I feel like you're going a little high up to that last chorus. Can you just keep it down a little bit? And she went, well, sing it. Sing what you mean.
Here we
So
go.
I went, so you know where you're going. There was a silence on the other end. And she went, well, I guess we're not doing a duet today.
Not today. Not today.
She said that? Yeah, she said that.
But after your online course, there's a possibility.
After online course, I'm going to be
Of course,
getting
be
around
brilliant.
and jumping in the booth as
Brilliant.
well. Yeah.
That's funny.
We'll look for that duet with Celine.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think you should get your picture arm ready for batter's box, my man.
Oh, I've been ready.
You ready?
I've been ready.
Now, listen, what you may get is baseball, you may get cricket, you may get a version of soccer,
Oh, yeah.
some other stuff. It's going to come back at you in ways you haven't gotten used
There was
to.
one or two of these that you were gone. I won.
Is that right?
I'm not sure why.
Probably because I was gone.
I think so. Just letting you know.
All right, let's tee up batter's box, and here's Dave the pitcher. Go.
Vocals.
Wonder Audio.
It's gonna be reverb or reverb. You can have your choice.
Valhalla.
Oh, I love Valhalla. I'm done. I quit.
I know we're getting UK'd.
Synths,
Juno 106.
plugins,
UAD.
drums,
Ash Zone. The session drummer that's
Session
played
drummer.
on all my records.
I knew that.
bass.
Jaco Pastorius.
Ooh, from
Weather
Miami.
Report. Weather Report.
Strings.
Cello.
I was praying you'd say Sound Toys Filter Freak, but I'll give you credit for that.
Sorry.
Loops. Remind me to ask you about loops later, but loops.
MPC.
Did I say strings? I did say
Yeah.
strings.
Yeah.
Stereo bus.
Shadow Hills, recently.
Ooh.
Peter.
Peter Reardon.
Yep.
Okay. No need, no computers, no dog, no pets, no family. If your studio caught fire, what piece of gear would you grab first?
My A3 pad. With all the ideas
All
in
the
it.
ideas there. Yeah.
You don't even have to say it. He won.
Resoundingly.
Resoundingly.
But that's okay. You did well.
I got a little tiny comeback move though, because one thing you said a long time ago that has always stuck with me is that you liked taking 10, 15 tracks of live drums, printing them as a stereo track because it makes them feel more coherent and like a loop. So that was my contribution to
Very, very nice.
Batter's Box today.
Here's one of the things that got done to you
That's
that,
cool.
that you didn't realize has gotten done to you. The longer we keep interviewing Fraser, the more cool and calm and quiet we get. we're not like this. Hey, and we've gotten like jazz.
I've just been waiting for.
Hey, bro, just like I've not seen you this mellow, and we're like,
been-
Fraser, hey man, let's go get a drink.
I've been waiting to
afterwards."
say a word. So ask me what I'm doing later.
What are you doing later?
I'll check my schedule.
Schedule. Schedule.
I wanted to say that the whole show.
I grew up singing "God Save the Queen," so that's normal to me.
Say it one more
'cause I'm
time.
from Montreal.
Schedule.
Schedule.
Say it.
Schedule.
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 I'm gonna check my schedule. I'll get back to you.
We'll get back.
How'd you
to
say it again? Schedule.
I say schedule.
Hard
Yeah.
C.
Yeah,
But-
schedule.
But see, but when you're sexy, it's schedule.
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 So our schedule time is up. And why don't you, first of all, Fraser, thank
for
you
having
so
me on,
much.
man.
Please tell Sarah thank you. She was a ball to deal with.
It's a beautiful lady.
She is a great
Thank
lady.
you, Dave.
And as we talked earlier, as we talk about education, some things we're talking about, we'd love to include you in what we're doing.
Please.
We'd love to have you.
Please.
DP, take us home.
Okay. Man, when you sit in front, oh, my light's red now, not green. When you sit across and talk to a cat like this, the one thing that just kind of consumes me is his mastery of his craft, but it's mastered in a way that it enhances all the creative things in his life, and he always puts the song first. While that's a great thing to do for our profession, I think that's somewhat a metaphor for life. And you can figure the rest of that one out for yourself. But listen, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us for the last few weeks and being patient with us. You've entrusted us, Herb and I, with and our team with a lot of responsibility to do this for you guys, and we take it seriously. And I wish you could be here with us and see how much effort has gone into making this show special for you guys. And thank you for that. We'll see you next week.
See you guys. Peace.